Yeah, that's a neat one. That's a really one question.
Yes, I've got her.
Hey, how are you?
Get that thing out
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness.
on that Wednesday when he said he was.
Yes. When I was in Milwaukee. Yeah, yeah. And he said that, he had to lay on top of the hard top. The door out even more, and had it been any bigger than you.
Really? You get it in the storage.
That's okay.
Good. Our conferences.
So,
Wow. This is the first day. So that's why. We didn't know.
Sturgeon came and he had took the roll bottle, prism, measured, and did all the things, but he.
Oh my God. Well, at least it's done. So now when does he have to go there? Walk on your back, okay, with acid.
We do that, I know you're trying to make a joke, but
No.
yeah, absolutely. Before.
That's the brotherly rivalry for parent conferences, huh? How's Kirsten? Yeah, be replying for you?
Yeah.
Almost. How's it going? Getting close to the end of first term. Got any plans this weekend?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
You get to a pool?
Well, that's good. That's cool. We'll have fun with that. Absolutely. Don't forget. You don't have to-
Oh, I know.
Yes, 4:30, Xavier, they take them down. I'm not a Xavier. That's what we were. And by the way, I was thinking FPL with the kids always. Oh, so I use Xavier's down more downtown. Really? Oh. So yeah, I hope they mop that up. Yeah. Because I think it's south, just south of college. Oh, it's, I think the PAC is in the national service thing I get had like 95% chance of winning most of the game. And now just at the end, that was this morning, and then this afternoon, I got one at like 45. And it was like 80%, so it was still strong. It wasn't like quite as bad.
You're not.
So hopefully tomorrow is a little better. I guess what you have to chairs, stuff like that. Yeah.
Can't wait to go to college.
Could be.
I guess so. I got up this morning, I jumped.
Right.
My summer school. Because I was like, I get to do obviously. Or Daniel.
That's right.
The worst part, half of them are.
Oh, right, that's in my office. See, I knew I needed that.
Sure. Well, it was just like Slim Dixie, and I just thought this, and this went right on.
It sounds like a Mary Poppins sort
Yeah,
of
that's what I'm saying.
And then half of them are single. No. There's actually, oh, I didn't get into the packet because they were still waiting.
Oh, yeah. Nobody. Especially with how. So our IT folks. Test me.
Just say like.
I get busted a lot. I gotta train over it.
That's a weird world. We got a correspondence.
I mean,
Never. The snail man pictures, it's like, you know.
In the garden.
They have actually different numbers. And it was such a.
She's on the counter.
Yeah.
If you have this side, like.
That's the first year I've ever got an email.
Okay.
My wife has got it.
Okay.
I had a couple other papers. Up next to my keyboard, is one of my important spots, but if it's not in my school. We're not recording everything.
I'd like to call this Board of Education meeting to order. Could we please rise, Board, if we pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
You bet. Commissioner Hawes? Here. Commissioner Wood?
Here.
Commissioner Chisholm?
Here.
Commissioner Jenner John?
Here.
Commissioner Stefani?
Here.
Commissioner Cruz?
Here.
Commissioner Howard?
Here.
Commissioner Schultz?
Here.
And Commissioner Springer?
Here.
Full house, that's great. Motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
We have a motion by Commissioner Chisholm, second by Commissioner Jenner John to adopt the agenda. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And now we're down to a great point of the evening. This is the student council report from Kirsten Mellon.
Okay, so October, we're not really doing much, but we did make $328 at the powder coat game, so we decided to donate that to Adopt a Soldier. And if people got canned goods to the powder coat game, we gave that to Feed and Clothe My People, so we decided that. And then we started talking about the Christmas talent show already. That's fun. We're talking about new ways to motivate students. So we started an Instagram for kids to follow, and we're bribing them with Culver's coupons. So yeah.
How does that work?
I think we're not completely sure yet, but if they sign up, I'll just give them Culver's coupons because like the teachers get all those for free. So I think that's a nice way to use them somehow. And we also talked about candy cane sales. That's about it. It's happening. October.
So you are almost to the end of the first term already.
Yep. So close.
So close, a quarter of the way through your year as the president,
Yes,
as well as, big senior year. Any developments as far as future plans, as far as from what you've been thinking to?
I'm thinking maybe going to Oshkosh. I think so far that's what I have. I was accepted, but I don't know. I'm still looking at other colleges. But I think I want to be a teacher. So.
Where did that come from? All right. Well, that's awesome. We need good young people like you going into the profession, that's for sure.
Yeah, we can put a motion on the floor for like 5 years from now.
Hey.
Yeah. Great.
Earliest teacher signing that.
Let's sign her. Yeah, that's right.
It's great.
And Oshkosh is good. I went there, so if you, it's all good.
And where on campus should you find your statue perhaps?
No statue.
All right, just check.
No statue. Gosh, half the buildings that when I was there are now not even in existence. They've knocked them down and built new things. It's really a nice campus. Good, thank you very much.
You have a special event thing. We shouldn't say too much to give anything away, but you have some
Oh,
plans tonight, so
yes. Yes.
we will let you go, continue with your plans.
Thank you. It's so exciting.
Thank you, and have a good weekend.
You too.
Next, we have the public comment section. And if anybody would like to address the board, seeing none here. I think we can move past that section. So, the public hearing, we did actually, just mention earlier, we did, so the public hearing for the 2023-2024 school district budget was held earlier prior to this meeting.
Quick wording, we had our workshop.
Our
earlier.
workshop, and we are going
And
to.
then we're about to go to the
actually-
brief hearing now.
You will see it in just, yes, so here, I guess, right now would be as good as any time, right?
Yeah, well, and I can just read a little note, just as a little clarification. Some of you know, especially if you've lived elsewhere, you've heard of school district annual meetings, right? We're in kind of a unique category in the state. We're a unified school district, so we don't really have an annual meeting because we're not a common district or a union district. Instead, we incorporate the opportunity for any members of the public, which again, we'll check again, President Stefani, but at last check, we didn't have anyone here tonight for public comment or appears for this, even though we'll pause again, to have a chance to talk about the budget into this kind of little mini hearing we'll have here in a moment as a part of the meeting. Again, obviously tonight, as again, the board has heard many, many times, right, as a part of tonight's meeting is when we officially, the school districts approve, in essence, the budget and the tax levy. What again, of course, this little hearing we'll have in just a second is separate from the public comment period. The board also knows, but I'll say for the benefit of anyone watching or watching a recording, right? Jake, a budget presentation that's a part of tonight's festivities and the budget and the levy that the board will officially take action on in the operations agenda. So that's kind of the introduction. We want to just hit the gavel to open up the hearing just in case someone wanders in the door. So we've checked that box.
All right. We are now opening the public hearing on the 2023-2024 school district budget.
The noise I just heard in the hall, I'm guessing is a custodian, but I will check just in case. Yes, indeed. I don't think we have anyone here to address us.
Okay.
I don't know, we can call once, twice, thrice, and you can close the
All right.
hearing then.
Hearing none, I will close this hearing. All right. Now we are down to consent agenda. The consent agenda, which point one has approved the meeting minutes of the September 20th, 2023 regular Board of Education meeting. Note there is a revision that we had, Mr. Wood was not in attendance in that meeting as per he was out of town. You were here in spirit, exactly. Point B, the October 4th, 2023 board learning session. Two, approve the September bills that were in your packet. Point three, accept grants and donations. We had Gary Grohl donated $500 for sunrise attendance prizes. He also donated another $500 for sunrise attendance and prizes. Sturgeon Bay parent teacher group, $500 for sunrise orientation. Also, the parent teacher group did $425 for the Sunrise Hispanic Heritage books. Playground donations, Ron and Marilyn Linus Vandertide donated $1,000. And Marshall donated $50. Here we go. Carol, Marshall, $100. Christiana Novacell Rogers, $2,500. Janu Allman was $300. Daniel Smallman, $100. Donna Janning, $2,500. Tracy Barnaville was $50. Jim Tellstrom, $20. Brian Weiss, $20. Kate Campbell, $30. Kathleen Smallman, $100. Diane Lodge, $100, Brianna Armstrong, $25, Marcy Hartman, $25, Laura Russer, $5, Rachel Kerwin was $100, Sean Wadier was $25, Justin Bosman, $20. We had an anonymous donation for $100, Jessica Holland, $100, James and Karen Ibbotson was $25. Walmart Sam's Club was $1,000. Margaret Nagel was $3,600, and Mark and Katie Smullen $500. We also received the DC Community Foundation gave $8,000 to the virtual mental health therapy program. Another $2,673 donation from the Door County Community Foundation for the same virtual mental health therapy. Steve Rabach, $100 for Clipper Nation, and Finn Terry gave $100 for Clipper Nation. In resignations and retirements, we have Harley Bush, who resigned from her teacher associate position at Sawyer School. Maddie and Larry Wolf have resigned from coaching middle school girls basketball. Ben Herlin is resigned as the girls golf coach. Casey Harrington is resigned as the varsity girls head basketball coach. Todd Milkey is retiring as a PE teacher and athletic director effective the end of the current school year. And Jane Stephen is resigning from her community engagement coordinator position. A motion to approve the consent agenda is presented, and thank everyone for their generosity and service to our district is recommended.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented, and also thank everyone for their generosity and service to our district.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hahn and seconded by Commissioner Wood to approve the consent agenda as presented, and thank everyone for their generosity and service to our district. Now we are down to the operations agenda. We have the first point of operation here is approve the 2023-2024 budget. Oh. No, I didn't. Sorry. Look, lickety split.
You know how important the
Lickety
budget
split.
is. You were
You
trying
got
to go
it.
right to it.
I was
So,
trying to
yes,
go
I think
right
we
to
had
it.
the motion and
So
second.
I have the
Just need to
motion
vote.
second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. I apologize, everyone. I was overzealous to get to the budget, but here we are. Now we're at the budget.
All right, now we're in our operations agenda section. And Jake, if you want to kind of hop up, I'll just kind of read the kind of summarize the intro here for anyone tracking this at home or watching the recording later. So as again, the board knows this well, but for the public's benefits, October 15th each year, this year happened to be on Friday, October 13th, with October 15th falling on a weekend. We received the, like all school districts, the certification of general school aides are needed to finalize figures as well as any final options available to the board when it comes to approval of the budget, which we're about to hear more about and have you take action on shortly, as well as the tax levy that will follow. So you know in your board packet, school board, and of course, anyone from the media or public knows that there's a budget adoption document that our business manager, Jake Holtz, has prepared as part of the meeting packet. Again, much of that was also similar to information that Jake walked us through back in the October learning session, even though we didn't have finalized numbers from the state. The budget adoption document considers various items discussed back in our learning session, including, again, that small decrease of $1,159 to the levy compared to a year ago. We see the Fund 39 levy of that amount, $929,623, and Fund 41 levy of $440,000. Which would then equate to a mill rate of $7.55, which again, Jake's going to talk about. So I think what we'll do here, President Stefani, I'll read then a motion to approve the budget as presented in the budget adoption document is recommended. We can get kind of the motion in second, and then Jake can do his thing before take action, right?
Yes. So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as presented in the 2023-2024 budget adoption document.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Jenner to approve the budget as presented in the 2023-2024 budget adoption document. Further discussion? I think now we can.
Turn it over to Business
Yes.
Manager Holtz, and again, the board knows that, but there's a reminder in the packet if anyone from the public. That again, we talked about this, but we had another work session, so you heard the work session in early October, we had another one tonight. Just to be able to review, again, those final numbers. You also heard that there's really one or two numbers that we don't technically have just yet, dealing with some different things Jake explained, but for the most part. We have the lion's share of what we can get, which is nice as we're, quarter of the way into the actual fiscal year, but such is life the way we do it in Wisconsin. Go ahead, Jake, what do you have for us?
So looking back a little bit at last year, more so ahead to this year, good news for those who were here earlier this evening. Not going to really go over too much of those same numbers that we've looked at in June, August, earlier this month, and this evening. 2022, 2023 highlights compared to the last couple of years when we spoke about being in school all day and sports on their regular schedule. Not a whole lot of highlights. But really the big one, we began our updated post-employment benefit plan for teachers, where we contribute $2,000 annually to our teacher, full-time teacher TSAs. And then we made $537,000 in catch-up contributions last year. Some made for this year.
Super quick, Jake. Again, board knows this, but for anyone tracking that didn't pay attention last year, and again, this is the system for our, for a majority of our teachers, right? Mostly hired after a certain date. And instead of years of kind of retirement insurance, kind of the old model, this is the way we transition, right? So if anyone was watching that, that's a shift the board's talked about for a while and worked with.
And to put it in layman's terms as well, TSA is the same thing as a 403B. A 403B is a 401k for teachers, or for really public sector employees. But 403B, TSA, same thing. For this year, with the state budget, we got $1,000 per pupil increase, which equated to about $1 million extra in our revenue limit than what we would have had based on last year's laws. This allowed us to approve our longevity supplemental pay for teachers, increased curriculum writing hourly rate, and introduce a flexible day off as well. One of the cost increases, 20% increase in voucher costs. Not really, I have the numbers here in a second. Not really an increase in students, but in the cost. Again, that was part of the state budget. And overall recommended very small decrease, maybe even call it keeping it flat on the tax levy this year. Enrollment counts. We are serving 1,067 children as of third Friday in September. This year compared to 1,066 last year. 185 students open enrolled in. This year, 214 open enrolled out compared to 180 in last year, 218 out last year. That's a total number of resident students of 1,096, slightly up from 190 or 1,093 last year. The total FTE, which is multiplied by 1,000, then is 1067. It's smaller because we only count 4-year-olds as 60% of an FTE, and any kids that might be in our early childhood education program are 0.5 or 50% of a full-time equivalent student. We also kicked off summer school this year, and we had 9 summer school FTE compared to 0 last year. So our total FTE was 1071. For those who may not have been at prior meetings, the reason it's not 1067 plus 9 equals 1076 is because we only get to count 40% of that 9 summer school FTE. So our total FTE 1,071 is where we get times $1,000 our per pupil revenue limit. That's where we get our base revenue limit. Bigger picture with the vouchers. We have 30 students receiving private school vouchers compared to 29 last year. One of those is a high school student, compared to 2 last year, and 29 elementary students, this year, 27 last year. So the total cost for us is $299,284. That's up from $44,000 last year. Again, the increase is based on the state budgets, more so than any increase in students. We did not have an extra student cost $50,000. The cost per student went up. So overall, our open enrollment and voucher deficits is growing. That cost, we have $2.35 million going to other schools for projected $760,000 deficit compared to $637 last year. Again, $50,000 that increases from vouchers. And the other increase is increased cost for open enrollment students, including special ed students. Our enrollment trend, saw this earlier this month. The red line is our head count. The blue line is our district membership. You want assuming you want a positive open enrollment count, you want the head count to be greater than our district membership. And that flipped a couple of years ago, again, closed slightly this year. Looking a little bit at demographics, just the changing demographics of Sturgeon Bay. The light blue is the percentage of white Caucasian students we have in the district. You can see that percentage getting smaller from 2007 to 2023. This past year, 76.53% of our student population was white. The other 23.5% were a mix between American Indian, Asian, Black students, Hispanic, mixed race, and a couple Pacific Islanders. Broken down by school. I apologize, this isn't in order. There was no way I could get it in order from the software. This is Sawyer Elementary, so you can see our youngest students from 2020 to 2023, 70%, so a little bit smaller number of our students at Sawyer are white versus different ethnicities. Sunrise, you can see that trend kind of carrying from Sawyer to Sunrise to TJ Walker and into the high school. Free and reduced enrollment. I've had this one on this presentation again, I think since I've been here. You can see the orange, our total enrollment versus our green free and reduced percent. Last year was 49.2, which was up from the year before, but not quite back to our high of 51.7% back in the 2020-2021 school year. Looking at that number, that percentage of free and reduced students, so students coming from low income households, that 49.2% is the highest out of Brown, Kewanee, and Door County minus the Green Bay School District. Green Bay School District is right about 60%. Algoma is right up there with us. Last year, they were slightly higher. Or the previous year, they were slightly higher. We've gone back and forth the past few years, but you can see this big difference between us, Algoma, and then the next district, Kewanee, Southern Door, and Schwabenheim.
You just pause for a moment here, Jake. So, again, I think there's a few different dynamics that our board sees this in different, forms. You hear from the administrators in different ways, right, about things. I think when I'm at, my superintendent meetings, we're always cautioned that we want the school board and community and certainly staff to know what's going on. We never want this to come across as an excuse or a blame game, right? As far as how demographics are changing whether it's with students of color, whether it's with free and reduced, right, some of the socioeconomic challenges. But it's also a great opportunity, not only for us, but others to be informed and just be like, this is just the reality. As we talk nationwide or statewide or within Northeast Wisconsin about certain trends, what's happening with socioeconomic status and challenges of some families, we know as wonderful as Door County and Sturgeon Bay are, we're not immune from that. In fact, in some ways, we're on kind of the high end of the spectrum, at least of some of those snapshots, as Jake is doing a nice job of, again, reminding us of from year to year. So again, as we think of some of the challenges we have, you say all the time, and of course, the admin team agrees with you, you know, we serve the kids we have and the kids we're gonna get. Right, no doubt, just like we've served the kids of the past, but that is, you know, a changing population, at least in some ways, which is part of the reason we're having to make some changes with programs. Some of the things like we'll hear about in the coming weeks with report cards, we're knocking it out of the park, and some of the areas we're seeing some challenges, even with good achievement, just the way some of those scores work. So you'll hear more next month about that, but I just wanted to pause this for a moment on some of this nice stuff that Jake's pulled together for us.
All right. Uh-oh.
Did I pause you long enough to lock up? What if I do that?
There we go. All right, looking at a pie graph of our revenues. This is total budgeted revenue, does not include budget transfers, so you're not seeing the double dip of, okay, we get all the revenue in Fund 10 and counting the same $2 million transfer as a revenue in Fund 27. So you're taking that out. Last year, total actual revenue of 22,000. This year, from the recommended budget, 22.5 million. You can see, as one would expect, Fund 10 is 84% of that. Fund 10 is our general fund. That's where really all the operations of the district really are paid for, is out of Fund 10. Yes, we pay for special education out of Fund 27. That's more of a way to track it. We end up making that transfer at the end of the year from Fund 10 to 27. So some small percent revenues in 4% for Fund 39, 2% to Fund 41, and 4% for Fund 50. For Fund 50 is our food service that is not funded by tax dollars.
Quick reminder for the public, more so than the board, but if we were in a situation where Fund 50, the food service program, was losing money, which unfortunately too many districts are in that situation, then what happens, Jake, out of the general fund to balance all that out?
Then we do have to transfer money over to Fund 50, so it can't be a negative number at the end of the year.
So again, yes, we know Jenny Spooty, as we were talking earlier, does a great job for us and the kids and her staff and the greenhouse and all that is really good for our kids and community. But also, bottom line, that money, right, she continues to do a great job with it, and they cover their expenses there. Plus, they're not only doing a good job with the fiscal part, they're preventing us from having to spend money. And I remember back in my principal days, this has been a while now, right? But I remember, all of a sudden it got to be 20,000 and then 25,000 and then 30,000, right? Where food service was losing money that the district was having to kick in, which of course was money not going for the other instructional needs of students or professional development for staff, et cetera. So again, just a nice thing to pause on. So when we say food service is doing a great job, that's true in a few ways, and it's also good for the rest of the bottom line.
Looking at general fund, Fund 10 revenues, I like to break this out, 18.95 total projected revenues. Highlighting the taxes and equalization aid in the dark blue outline there, that 49 and 27%. So 76% of our total general fund revenue is under the revenue limit. Right, revenue limit is taxes plus equalization aid. 9% is coming from open enrollment in, 5% from ESSER aid, federal COVID relief aid. 7% other state aid, transportation, SAGE aid, stuff like that is in that other state aid. Other federal aid, our titles, Title I, besides the ESSER, Title I, Title II, Title IV, is about 2%. And other, that's gonna be, student fees, refunds, interest, is gonna be that, 250,000 at 1% of our total general fund revenue. So general and special education expenses by type. Again, Fund 27, special education, 71% of our projected budget is going to be spent on salaries and benefits. About 21% on purchase services. Purchase services are contractors paying a CISA for people to come in and help us. So really at 21% is generally going to be paying people as well. 6% for non-capital software, 1% is capital objects, the vans later tonight, 1% insurance, and less than 1% on the miscellaneous items. That's compared to, it's pretty close to 72% of the salaries and benefits last year for 19.6 million total. Proposed property tax levy. The total number of $10.691 million. To read that in full, $10,691,221 total school levy. Really has not changed from earlier this month. Of that number, recommending 440,000 into Fund 41, 929 to 929,000 into Fund 39 to help pay off our referendum debt, and $9.321 million into our general fund for funding school. That's a small $1,200 decrease with a mill rate of $7.55. That's a that mill rate is your taxation rate, $7.55 per $1,000 of equalized property value. Questions? So we'll look at that. Mill rate is the total levy divided by equalized property value. As you can see here, this is about 12 years of equalized property value. Going from $800 million in 2012 and about when I got here in 2017 to just over $1.4 billion this year. Now, one of the big drivers we had on that increase this year is TID, I believe it was one closing. So that increased the property value quite a bit. But that equalized property value going up helps to spread out the total tax levy across the taxpayers in the district.
Pause there, Jake. So again, quick trip down memory lane. So when I came in 2014 and we were looking at some things in 2015, you can kind of see where it dips below $800 million. I think our magic number in 2015 from memory was like $780 million in property value for the district. But as a point of comparison, at the time, Southern Door was already over $1 billion in property value when we were only at about 780 million, right, for a comparable number of students. And then at that time, Sebastopol was between, I believe, 1.3 and $1.4 billion in property value for about half the number of students. And then back then already, Gibraltar was at approximately $3.4 billion in property value for then even fewer than half the students. So as we know some of the dynamics, right, locally, yes, it's great to see, you know, here in the district and the city, you know, things developing, going over $1 billion and not just people's properties being worth more, which we know is a dynamic, but like Jake said, finally that, you know, TID number one coming off the kind of the TID rolls and onto the tax rolls, if you will. That's, there's a variety of things that are positive there. So it's just a nice review as we think, oh, how do we compare, right? Right now, I didn't double check on the last few days, Jake, unless you did, but last I remember seeing Gibraltar was just shy of $5 billion, I think, in property
I
value.
am my probably.
So anyway, just again, as a point of reference, wowzers, that's quite a swing.
So again, the taxation rate is the property value divided by property taxes. A short look at our historical property taxes went from $9 million total in the 1920 school year to 10.8 million in the 2021 school year. That's the first year of our Fund 39 referendum debt. And then we've worked on stabilizing that in the past years, and we've been able to do that successfully so far. And so that total levy with the equalized property value brings us to our mill rate of $7.55. This is, I thought I changed this, apparently I didn't save it from there to here. This is, 14 years of mill rate. You can see that sharp decline that kind of coincides with the increase in property value the last couple of years, helping that mill rate. Again, I know I don't talk chasing the mill rate. I think it can lead us into trouble, but it's a nice little indicator of where we're at and good to keep in mind. Some notes, more notes on the tax levy, the proposed one. Based on published levy recommendations from our neighbors in the county. Sturgeon Bay School District would be the only district on the peninsula with a decrease in overall tax levy. I honestly, I don't even look at Washington Island. It's they're so small, it's not even it can be so volatile. Gibraltar's up 2 million, Sebastopol up a couple $100,000, and Southern Door up 3 million. Again, that's all based on the board packet notes that are published on their websites. That 755 mill rate is the lowest since at least 1984. That's the records that I have. This goes back to 1984. And the first time since 2004 where Sturgeon Bay School District will not have the highest mill rate on the Door County Peninsula. I admit it's going to be tough to get below Sebastopol's mill rate, Gibraltar's mill rate. Like Dan said, the property value is just, it's way up there. But a good note, a Southern Door increased theirs to help pay off debt faster, so that may not be something that'll happen over the next few years as well. But at least for this year, we are lower than our neighbors to the south. Final note down here. So the levy is set to decrease despite a 20% increase in vouchers payments year over year, and a 58% increase from 2 years ago. So we've been able to maintain that levy where it's at despite those increases. That's what I have. Any questions?
At this point, I'll just maybe kind of comment what the board knows. If anyone in the public would be watching this now or recording, certainly contact Jake or me. Jake usually has those spreadsheets a little more accessible even than I do, and we can happily answer any of the questions you might have or point you in the right direction on that information. Otherwise, I think back to the agenda item, right, Mike? We've got a motion and
We have a motion and a second on the floor, again, to approve the budget as presented, the 2023-2024 budget adoption document. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we now have to approve the December 2023 tax levy.
Yeah, and good news is we don't need an extra presentation or anything because Jake has already covered that in the information he just went through, and I was again quadruple checking the numbers he has up there with what you've seen and what I had written in the background document, and thankfully they all still match. So I'll just go right to the motion. A motion to approve the tax levy as presented in the budget adoption document for a general fund levy of $9,321,598 and a Fund 39 referendum debt levy of $929,623 and a Fund 41 capital expansion fund levy of $440,000 for a total of $10,691,221 is recommended.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the tax levy as presented in the budget adoption document for a general fund levy of $9,321,598 and a Fund 39 referendum debt levy of $929,623 and a Fund 41 capital expansion fund levy of $440,000 for a total levy of $10,691,221.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Haas to do the following. A motion to approve the tax levy is presented in the budget adoption document for a general fund levy of $9,321,598 and a Fund 39 referendum debt levy of $929,623 and a Fund 41 capital expansion fund levy of $440,000 for a total levy of $10,691,221 is recommended. Further discussion? Yes, sir.
I just want to say thank you for the few months that I've been part of the commission or board, right? I've come a long ways and learned a ton from you, Jake, and I appreciate you explaining it over and over in these learning sessions and board meetings, right? It's not an easy thing to understand. Things I kind of have a background in it, so I get it, but I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
And for the public, Jake will take calls if you ever have a question on this, because that's,
Most of the time.
you're good at explaining.
Can you put his phone number as part of the?
Yeah, we can do that. See, maybe it's
New billboard.
his mobile, personal mobile number.
2801.
Yeah, there you go. So, wait, we have any further discussion? Then all those in favor, please say aye.
I believe this has been roll call in the past.
Oh.
It's not a steel trap anymore, but I believe it has
We can
been.
do that, absolutely.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner House.
Aye.
Commissioner Wood.
Aye.
Commissioner Chisholm.
Aye.
Commissioner Jennerjohn.
Aye.
Commissioner Stefani.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howard.
Aye.
Commissioner Schultz
Aye.
and Commissioner Sturgeon.
Hi.
Motion carried. So thank you very much, Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that.
Back to the agenda here. Now we're down to point 4, approved teacher associates. We have Lopez, special education teacher associate.
Yes, so item 4, we actually have 4 associates to approve at this time, so thank you for that. Letter A, Erica Lopez. So Director of Special Education Pupil Services, Lindsay Ferry, recommends Erica Lopez for a special education teacher associate position at Sawyer Elementary School. To keep up with the theme of the evening, Erica is also a Sturgeon Bay High School graduate. Erica shared that she loved attending school in Sturgeon Bay and is excited to come back to the schools to help other students. The team is looking forward to working with Erica. So a motion to approve Erica Lopez as a special education teacher associate is recommended.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Erica Lopez as a special education teacher associate.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Chisholm to approve Erica Lopez as a special education teacher associate. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're down to the second here, Monique Lopez, special education teacher associate.
Yes, so Lindsay Ferry recommends Monique Lopez for a special education teacher associate position at Sunrise Elementary School. Monique is also a graduate of Sturgeon Bay, our school district. Monique expressed desire also to come back to the district to provide support to students as she felt a strong connection to the staff that had helped her. will be a welcome addition to the Sunrise team. Motion to approve Monique Lopez as a special education teacher associate is recommended.
I'll move to approve Monique Lopez as special education teacher associate.
Second.
Excellent. We have a motion by Commissioner Hahn, second by Commissioner Jenner to approve Monique Lopez as a special education teacher associate. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Before we go on, Director Ferry, does this mean we have something in common with the Milwaukee Bucks if they have the Lopez brothers now both on the roster? And the Lopez sisters now working at the elementary level in here in Sturgeon Bay.
I wondered if they were related.
Yeah, I just wondered too. I wasn't gonna add.
I happen to over here across the hall, since as some of you know, Lindsay's office is close to mine, and when she was calling the one sister and then calling the other and then piecing it together, wait a second. So that was good stuff, right? It was indeed. All right, letter C, Timothy Keister. So Director of Special Education Pupil Services, Lindsay Ferry recommends Timothy Keister for a special ed teacher position at Sturgeon Bay High School. Timothy has a variety of experiences, including serving in the military, working in food produce, and overseeing departments in manufacturing, settings. Although Timothy may be new to the educational setting, he's excited to share his experiences and serve as a mentor to some of our high school students. We look forward to welcoming Timothy to the high school team. A motion to approve Timothy Keister as a special education teacher associate is recommended.
Make a motion to approve Timothy Keister as a special education teacher associate.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Haas to approve Timothy Keister as a special education teacher associate. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So now we're down to Ally Sargent. for
Yeah.
special education.
Last TA approval for tonight. Lindsay recommends Ally Sargent for the special education teacher associate position at TJ Walker Middle School. Ally is a graduate of Sturgeon Bay and is excited to return to our schools to help support learners. She has experience working at a Door County daycare and is currently working toward a degree in early childhood education. We welcome Ally to the team. A motion to approve Ally Sargent as a special education teacher associate is recommended.
I move to approve Ally Sargent as a special education teacher associate.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Chisholm, second by Commissioner Cruz to approve Ally Sargent as a special education teacher associate. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next one, 0.5, we approve, we're gonna approve high school coaches. The first one is a little shaky though, the head girls basketball coach, so.
So shaky indeed. I probably shouldn't read it, I think, as we talked the other day. So if you want to read it,
Yeah.
President Stefani.
So here we
can
go.
call Principal Nervi.
This
I think
was
that's
a
your
total
preference.
joke, obviously, what I said, because the principal Nervy and athletic director Michael have recommended Dan Trinagel. Dan has experience as a JV and assistant girls varsity coach and as a head boys varsity coach, as well as a decorated college career playing basketball at Wisconsin Lutheran College. A motion to approve Dan Trinagel as a varsity head girls basketball coach is recommended. I will add, he also watches a lot of basketball, so he's really in the know of everything that is now popular. in basketball.
Thanks for stepping up. Thank you.
Wait a second, I got a question.
I think we all do.
So can I have a motion to approve Dan Trinagel as the varsity head girls basketball coach?
I'll make a motion to approve Dan Nagel.
It's Noggle.
Okay, yeah, as the varsity.
They get called a lot of things, though.
Mr. T.
That's right.
Yeah.
As a varsity head girls basketball coach.
Second.
Ooh, that's.
Overwhelming.
No, I wasn't in this.
She can take it, okay, Jenner, okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Wood, seconded by Commissioner Jenner John to approve Dan Chinago, excuse me, as the varsity head girls basketball coach. Further discussion? I'll just say, I think they did a good job. And thanks for stepping up and helping us. And all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? You got yourself a position. All right.
So the girls on Monday, well, I'll be at the meeting on Wednesday. We'll see if the school board approves it or not, so.
So the next point is goes right in there. This is the assistant girls basketball position, if you want to read it.
Sure, yeah, I can run with that. Principal Derby and Athletic Director Michael recommend Mark Bellhopper. Some of you know Mark has been an assistant coach, technically has been our JV coach, and he'll continue as an assistant coach on our basketball staff this season. So a motion to approve Mark Bellhopper as an assistant girls basketball coach is recommended.
I'll make a motion to approve Mark Bellhopper as our assistant girls basketball coach.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Jenner-John and seconded by Commissioner Hawes to approve Mark Fellhofer as an assistant girls basketball coach. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're down to the assistant boys basketball JV1 position.
Yes, Principal Irving Athletic Director Michael recommend Troy Hassenjaeger as our JV1 boys basketball coach. Troy has previously coached as a JV1 boys basketball coach back with Jack Jackson. Some of you may also know that Troy is currently our head track coach. Do a motion to approve Troy Hassenjaeger as our JV1 boys basketball coach is recommended.
I move to approve Troy Hassenjaeger as the JV1 boys basketball coach.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Cruz and seconded by Commissioner Spitka to approve Troy Hassenjaeger as the JV1 boys basketball coach. Further discussion?
I'm just curious about the JV1 and JV2, that we have so many
I was happy to see.
people out. or-
Yeah,
that-
it's funny. Todd Michael, sorry, and I were talking about that today. It's jargon that we kind of accept. So back in the day, Beth, we would have had typically a varsity team, a JV team, and a freshman team. So X number of years ago, a lot of the conferences started to shift rather than calling a freshman, realizing even some of the large schools can't field a freshman only team. They kind of call that next tier JV2. So really, they both on our schedule kind of count as assistant coaches, and we got a couple different levels of that. But yeah, JV1 is your more traditional JV. JV2 is what many of us would have known as freshmen.
Thank you.
Good question.
But we do have like sophomores and juniors perhaps on the JV2.
Yeah, well, you can depending, kind of depending on the year, talent level, and making sure, like, obviously the girls would like to get to a point where we're consistently fielding two separate teams, and
Right.
someday would be great 3, but I think even large schools are content with 2 teams. It's good to see that the boys have the numbers to field 3 teams, so we'll see what the future holds.
So does that help? Is schedule reads to JV1, JV2?
The schedule basically talks about assistant. And then there's old wording, which we've talked about probably updating, right, and kind of the assistant freshman, which really we theoretically can apply as JV2. Yeah, so.
Do we have further discussion on this? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion and opposed, motion carried. All right, now we're down to the assistant boys basketball JV2 position.
Principal Nerby Athletic Director Michael recommend Trent Bone as our JV2 boys basketball coach. Trent had previously coached as a JV2 assistant with Scott Brunswick, for those of you that know Scott, last season, and he's a graduate of Sturgeon Bay High School. A motion to approve Trent Bone as the JV2 boys basketball coach is recommended.
I move to approve Trent Bone, JV2 boys basketball coach.
Second. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Cruz, seconded by Commissioner Howard to approve Trent Bone as the JV2 boys basketball coach. Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're down to what was talked about earlier tonight, the approval of vehicle purchases.
Yes, Jake Holtz reached out to Patriot Motors, as many of us know, formerly Jim Olson Motors, and Chrysler World for quotes. That information was provided in the packet. Again, he had follow-up and he commented earlier today, like, yes, he talked to Patriot again today. So the current thinking was to have the board approve a not to exceed amount, although technically, Jake, I suppose we can go with the numbers in there, right? So we can pursue those best vehicles. We were wondering how that was, right? So again, for those that didn't hear that earlier, that as of this afternoon, there were 2 vehicles at Patriot Motors that match what's in our pack that we would like to be able to purchase. So you don't happen to have that number handy, do you?
Yep,
Otherwise,
I
can
actually
look in my
pulled it
pack.
up. The quote number 1. I gotta zoom in a little bit. Is $43,177. Quote number 2 is $43,850.
And again, just very brief for anyone in the public that didn't look at the packet, those 2 vehicles are what type of vehicles, and again, would serve roughly what purpose?
They are base Chrysler Pacificas. One would be our van for transportation with the alternative school. That is at the Boys and Girls Club downtown. The other one is replacing I believe it's a 2007 Caravan, Town and Country Voyager, whatever it was in 07. So one's a normal replacement, the other one is to help support our alternative school and is being covered by a grant that the county received.
So I took the liberty, that's $87,027 in total for do not exceed.
And I think the board knows this, but Jake, in a previous job setting, what type of work did you do that is pertinent to when we have these conversations?
I'm guessing you don't want to know about when I was a coach. I was a
Not
car
the
salesman,
greatest.
I was a car salesman, finance manager, and sales manager, so.
Very good.
So when they say,
Get a better deal, you should approve something less than what you're sticking there.
I did have to go back to an email and remind them on my background and say, no, I know you're not. Yeah.
I can save us both some time here. Let's just get down to it.
all right, so do we have a motion to approve the do not exceed $87,027 for the purchase of 2 total vans? Motion we're looking for. I'll make the motion. What the heck, I'll get crazy. I'll make the motion.
When you get a second, just a question.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Stefani, seconded by Commissioner Wood. To approve a do not exceed amount of $87,027 for the purchase of 2 vans. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're down to the calendar.
Yes, we got a brief informational update, and then I'll do the quick run through on some policy stuff. Calendar, and again, I know the board has many things to wrestle with, and it's a bigger deal to some people than others, but we worked through feedback, as you know, and pulled this all together, so I won't read all those things there that we do have based on teacher feedback and board feedback, preference of the drafts. So that particular draft, which is again an informational item this month, looking for action next month. We see the first day of classes would be Tuesday, September 3rd. And again, anyone in the public that hears and wants to read our board packet, we can hit this for you. I'm not going to read it word for word right now. You see how long the winter break would be there. You see where the dates of break would fall. The last day of classes, pending a bunch of makeup days or something like that, would be Friday, June 6th. 2025 under that scenario. There'd be 179 days of school. Usually we try to schedule 180, but the way everything falls, 179. So we would add one additional August in-service day for staff to keep that all level and balanced. But again, some labeling as far as elementary conferences that had come up previously. So I kept that note. And again, as the board knows, no action requested at this time. We'd like to get that approved in November, kind of ahead of a lot of the districts, but then our families, if those families do have some limitations at the holidays, they want to get family vacation scheduled, they know exactly when the school plan or schedule is planned, so we can be organized and have that all set for them in advance. at this point, I think that's all we need to do.
Excellent. So now on to some, for those who are tracking, we've been improving board policy, things here and there, in the last year, and here we go. Dan, did you get some water in you?
I just took a quick sip, and that won't be the last one.
So here we go.
I gotta get the coaching voice back in shape anyway, I'm sure, so this is good for me.
Yes.
So, we can, first item, so 0144.5, again, you can all read the summaries, I'm not gonna read word for word the high points the way I usually try to do these, especially if Mrs. Demise had these nicely organized for us. Again, these technical corrections are kind of a one-time thing, so, you know, there are different ways we can handle that. This will be even quicker than the other batch we'll get to. So basically, board member behavior and code of conduct, you see there was an additional organizational choice. Okay, we didn't use the added option. And then, so that's really just quite minor. And then Commissioner Wood helped us catch the fact that we did not have a strike on one of the early in that first sentence on professional. It was staff. We meant to strike professional staff as far as that particular piece. That's pretty much what we had. So moving on, 0155 committees. This replaces public participation with public comment. Again, they're trying to switch that all the way through the different areas that it becomes comment at board meetings as we've changed on our agendas. Next, 0167.3 public comment at board meetings. It adds business in the reference today. So not just leaving people wondering, what are we talking about? School days, what? That it's business days is what that is. 2240 controversial issues in the classroom. We don't allow any. Boy, it's not quite that simple. So really in here, it talks about developing administrative guidelines as an option. Well, again, we know philosophically, we try to keep that to the policies and not have a bunch of other guidelines that we need to keep up to date. So again, we'll continue to focus whenever possible on policy, not that we don't use administrative guidelines, at least at sometimes. Where am I here? Not getting my notes confused again. Thank you. Yes. Oh yeah, 4131, reduction in staff. And really just kind of clarifies what considerations are if a reduction in staff were to occur. Really kind of providing maximum flexibility to the board / district in the event that happens. Policy 3210 staff ethics. There's a technical correction matching up with policy 4210 for consistency. G 3425 and 4425 on benefits. Clarify the reference to benefit packages, and then there was a different drafting note in the options there as well. 5430 class rank, right, close to the graduation requirement one, but not exactly. So class rank, we see that it's involved with calculating things for post-secondary opportunities, including scholarships. That is being pointed out and acknowledged that class rank can play a role in some scholarship selection. 5610 suspension and expulsions. This was revised to clarify that a meeting with the student or the student's parent may happen within 5 school days following the commencement of a suspension, and that meetings with an administrator, not necessarily specifically the district administrator in those school level disciplinary situations. 6800 system of accounting, there was some capitalization corrected there. 7217 weapons, okay, that in essence applicability of the policy to the different categories. And so again, another one Roger helped catch for us there as far as that wording in reference to what it was meant to be. And again, really, this is focusing on trying to prohibit visitors and volunteers, as who knows what changes in the future. That really students are covered through student handbooks, right? Once upon a time, as you and I know, there were people that would come straight from duck hunting and tuck their shotgun or whatever, it was different then than it is now. So student pieces continue to be covered in the student handbooks. One could argue staff pieces are covered through staff handbooks, and that's kind of the way that reads right now. So we'll see. I think this is one of those, in the years ahead, that will continue to kind of shift. I know in my principal years already, they were talking about what would that look like. And I remember thinking as a principal, well, if it ever got bad enough, I'd probably be a little more comfortable carrying a taser than a pistol, even though I personally am comfortable with guns, that whole lethal force piece, and I don't do monthly training like our law enforcement friends do. So again, I think weapons, that continues to progress, and Neil will give us wording and we'll stay on top of that. There's a big discussion, of course, you'd be involved. 8431, excuse me, preparedness for toxic hazards. This was really removing the appointment of by the board of an employee, and really that, through my position or designee, that we have something like that happening. In case you're wondering how that works locally, so John Sullivan, right, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, collaborates with an outside contractor. Kind of like we have someone for roofing, we have someone that helps us with this toxic hazard, and actually he'll come up again in one of the other ones later. 8453, direct contact communicable diseases. This really refers to that statutory reference regarding reporting a local health officer. We can all guess on some of these where certain things came up back in the COVID days, right? While a lot of that was not something we want to remember, there are some pieces here and there where, God forbid, we're in a similar situation in the future, where hopefully things will run much more smoothly. 845301, control of bloodborne pathogens. Okay, we've got, it's, certain staff, it's mandatory for them with exposure to blood that they receive certain training, really through what we call safe schools. All of our school staff members have some online safety, different modules and professional development things they work through, from any of our support staff all the way up to me. And really this is covered for all staff in those trainings each year. 8531, free and reduced price meals. The revision here you see clarified, it was, that it deals with the federal government now, as opposed through not being, really instituted through school board standards, right? Times have changed. Maybe that was the case once upon a time, but really the feds kind of oversee all that. And then 9700.01, advertising commercial activities, technical correction clarifies the term district administrator within the policy language, just to be consistent with other policies. So that's that batch of those technical corrections. I'll keep it moving right along to keep things speeding here. For policy updates, first 0100 definitions. We see some new definitions were added. You see legal notice and official newspaper. And again, we've talked some about that, right? With the whole newspaper thing as notices and how that has changed in recent years. Policy 0175, association memberships. This revision adds an additional membership option for the board. However, that's not one offered in Wisconsin. And then unless I'm getting my notes and memory are messed up, right? We've got the WASB. There is that other consortium, I forget, that was offered that wouldn't be true. And then again, thanks to Roger for touching base with me on this one too. We know that the WASB kind of withdrew its membership from the national organization when some stuff got all whipped up a couple of years ago. And at the time, WASB had said, well, we won't rule out rejoining the national at some point, but that has not yet occurred. I think you even triple check that for us, just to make sure with WSB that we had not rejoined as a state. So little clarifications there. Policy 2210, curriculum development. Policy revised to more closely align with DPI regulations pertaining to curriculum development content, as well as to reference the review process. Probably what most board members really want to know is, okay, all the stuff that's in that policy, if we talk to Jen Weber, who works with the principals and coaches and teachers, are we doing that? And yes, we are doing that, and we are ahead of the curve there on what is described in this Neola revision. Policy 2220, adoption of courses of study, is revised to better reflect different DPI regulations. Policy 2221, special observance days. The state of Wisconsin does have, whether it's Mildred Fish Harnick Day or others, special observance days. And you see that September 11th has now been specified indeed as a special observance day. Also a reference to Arbor Day. 2430, district-sponsored clubs and activities. We see that language permits use of the district logo and other intellectual property when in compliance with this policy. In other words, properly recognized school-sponsored clubs and activities can use, in essence, the logo. Letter G, this one will overlap with a couple others on the next page, use of tobacco and nicotine by, in this case, professional and support staff. Basically, policy is advised to specifically prohibit smoking as intended and reference marijuana and hemp derivatives, excuse me, within the context of smoking this. Although that stuff we know continues to progress in different locations. Policy 5200 attendance. Policy revised to incorporate definitions of key terms. We see is kind of a main thing to know what. I'll keep it moving on to the next page and a half to go. 5330 administration of medication emergency care, revised language regarding the storage of medication. You can probably guess we do have locked locations within different offices where medication is properly stored. Yes, that is the case at our schools. 5340 student accidents, illness, concussion, and sudden cardiac arrest. This policy was revised when it says teacher or coach determines a student may be exhibiting signs, symptoms, or behavior consistent with a concussion. So we know typically you think of the trainer, the school nurse, and coaches and sports events. Well, it's possible around recess or Phi-Ed class that it could be a teacher in a situation. And so now the teacher's a part of being able to say, ooh, student hit his or her head. I think we need to, check on them, make sure they're okay, and maybe put them through the protocol. 5410 promotion, placement, retention. This was updated to include new definitions to match different guidelines. 5512. This one really deals with what we talked about on the previous page, as will 7430 low with the whole tobacco, nicotine, marijuana, hemp products, etc. 5517 student anti-harassment. Again, they're looking for consistency with current laws and regulations as those continue to progress. 5771 and seizure revised to provide an additional option for frequency of inspections. If I recall correctly, back when we were reading through here, kind of hinted that there was an understanding of doing a search once a year. There is no requirement for that, just as if there were problems. If we wanted multiple searches in a year and we felt that would keep people safe, we would do that. 7434 touched on that. 7440 facilities security deals with the Wisconsin Court of Appeals of a decision which permits searches of non-student visitors or vehicles on school property under certain circumstances. Reminds me of a story, but that's for another day. I'll keep it moving. 8405 environmental health and safety program. Really, again, I referenced earlier, we have an outside consultant who works with John Sullivan on some different things. Here's another example with the indoor environmental quality plan that we get that assistance. Last page are 842001 epidemics and pandemics. I touched on that earlier. Okay, some of those policies dealing with language. This really deals with open meetings laws. As you remember, we didn't have closed session for a while, even months we normally would, because we were kind of meeting virtually and using City Hall, and it was a little bit challenging there. 8450 control of casual contact communicable diseases. You see some statutory requirements and authority granted to certain school staff. Kind of the short version of this dealing with, if we have a student exhibiting signs of some potentially communicable disease, of course, our school nurse is on the front lines, but we know our school secretaries, theoretically, someone else can stand in place of the nurse because the nurse can't be everywhere at once. And this just basically deals with all that, even though you and I can, if we go decades without the next communicable disease situation, that would be okay. 8600 transportation deals with incorporating regulatory language regarding placement of video and audio surveillance equipment. You also see specifically the mention of contracted busing, because that's what we have, and did a nice job double checking with Cobeson and our contract. And yes, Cobeson does, in essence, make reference to this type of situation. So we don't have to worry about too much detail there. 8800, this is one of those, it's a longer description, which tells you, as a couple of you noticed when you're reading through, you're like, what in the world is going on here, right? It's kind of that's the most professional way to put it. But no, we're not getting rid of the Pledge of Allegiance and whatnot. You see what they did there. They kind of separated the religious piece with, I'll just jump to the next item right away, policy 8802, patriotic observances. That's a new policy. So then those concepts, whether it's religious piece, right, or a time and a place for some of those things, or the patriotic pieces around certain things, and Pledge of Allegiance, National Anthem and all that, kind of breaking that up. Again, I suppose a sign of the times with the world we're living in, but there you have it for policy revision readings for today.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you remind me, I'm just looking at the 7217 weapons thing.
Mhm.
So there are some portions that are highlighted pink, some that are highlighted green, and then there are portions that are struck out. Can you tell me like who is responsible for the different highlighting and strikeout?
Yeah, so typically that's us using the track changes. Now, once in a while, the stuff from Neola right in kind of has some of that pre-baked into it. But normally, so like that first sentence, right? Somewhere along the line, they made reference, maybe even in a couple of different places, now that I'm thinking about it. The whole professional staff members, right? So typically,
Neil.
They're gonna look- yeah.
This,
they're gonna recommend striking.
we
Here we go.
observe that. So, if you have, in front of you is a copy of the policy weapons, so if we all can look at that one together. As you see that document, all the green and the red are recommendations from Neola. And then you'll see that section where professional is because our wonderful Roger caught that they missed a word when they were doing it, their intent. So, our personal, changes would be something like that strike through that's not highlighted. Other times you'll see where they're providing multiple options, where there's a parentheses that's blank. And you may have one of three options to check, or you check all three if it is appropriate for your district. So in this particular one that you have in front of you, there were no options, option A, B, or C in this particular policy. It was just what they recommended to be taken out and what they recommended to be put in.
So Neola recommended that staff members, students, and the portion that's highlighted red, that be struck out.
Correct.
And then what is TC? Like there's some dates that say revised 6/18/14 revised, and then what's TC mean?
That's probably the technical change, technical correction.
Okay,
So that'll be a history of every time that it was reviewed and revised or.
And then regarding the contents of these recommended changes, just to verify, in our student policy handbook and our staff policy, like weapons are not allowed.
At this point, we have one individual who's allowed, now, we sometimes have law enforcement visit, of course, whether it's, well, police chief Clint Henry comes on campus at times for outdoor adventures classes, right? Your boys are familiar with, they went through that experience last year. So of course, he can, but again, he's a police officer coming on, not one of our staff members. The closest person who, again, technically isn't one of our staff members would be Derek Dennerjohn as our SRO. Back already when we had our own SRO, our previous arrangement prior to the police department, that individual really was our employee. They had clearance, obviously, to carry on campus. We also made arrangements, I don't know, maybe my first, second year, that we have a safe, basically a specific gun safe for a long gun for the SRO that, God forbid there's a problem and we need them running toward the problem with kind of maximum firepower, they can quickly and easily from the safe in the SRO office grab that long gun in addition to their sidearm. Beyond that, we don't have any staff members currently in a situation where they would, I think, either be interested or have district / administration / school board, okay to carry. Again, I mentioned earlier, that's one of those, I think, looking into the future, I'll be curious kind of where that goes. That's why I gave the example of myself with like a taser, like if it was bad enough and I was an administrator in that setting, I might be open to that. I wouldn't be in a hurry, even if perhaps I may own a handgun or two. I'd rather not have to wear those at school for different reasons. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Good questions.
Okay,
Otherwise, Commissioner Wood and I were talking about what would a professional visitor be? Right, if you cut right to the language, right, if we didn't strike the word professional and we struck the other stuff. I don't know what a professional visitor is, and as soon as we looked at it, we thought, oh, we know what happened there, it was meant to be professional staff. He was watching the baseball game last night and he was having some extra policy fun. Boy, oh boy.
yeah.
Yeah, almost exciting, it's accounting.
All right, we are down to reports. So. Let's see, where is, Mr. Nerdy, are you,
I think we're gonna slide this is going up.
He wants to put kids to bed, I
Yes,
guess.
I was gonna say, we want to get her out of here in the next few minutes, so we'll slide this one up.
Down.
He is indeed.
Yeah.
too small.
I don't know if,
I appreciate you all.
certain Miss Abby was thinking about tuning in at home, so I wanted to say hi to Abby. Hi, Abby, in case you're watching us tonight.
We're gonna get a thank you, everybody. I have, I know you have my report. I brought, I know a couple. Last year I brought our first Sunrise scoop and I brought a couple more. Our student newspaper came out this past week, so I brought a couple to share for those of you if you want to pass them down. But these are students who are picked to do this just as a writing extension, and it's pretty cool. And I just thought you'd enjoy it. We also had the fifth graders came out with their Sunrise Scoop, the video edition. It's hilarious. It will be in our newsletter, it'll be linked in our newsletters on our website. And the new website's so beautiful, so you can easily find them, but there's a weather report. They've worked in sound and it's like, oh, I
I love it when you share this stuff.
I would encourage you to check it out. You'll have a good laugh. And it's very creative, which it's just really awesome to see. We had conferences this week, and so we were there yesterday and today, and so they ended around 5:30, but with great, I mean, just quickly checking in, really great attendance. Few teachers saying they had 100% sign up and show up, which two teachers, like I said, I've never had that before, and it's like, that's awesome. So we PTO thanks the teachers because it's a long day, you know, until 5:30. Brought in Sunny's Pizza, so that was awesome. And we had our book fair, many community partners there, so that was really great. And yeah, we continue to chip away at our playground. So thank you for those who donated again. We meet again on Monday. Our committee students continue to ask, when will it be ready? And I'm like, we have a long way to go, but we're still writing grants. We're still working on that and just working hard. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the newspaper. Feel free to keep those two. And it's a really small thing, but it's kind of a big thing. It's been a long work in progress. We have a free little library that's finally set up in the front of our school. It was installed today, and it was like staff members' husbands working on it, and it's to honor two of our, as it says on the side, two beloved Sturgeon Bay educators, Heidi Richard and Gretchen Monte. So it's really cool. So it's just, it's a small thing, but it's a big thing, and it's beautifully done, and it's right on the front of our school. And so people can come in and grab books, and I think it's just a great dedication to them. So yeah, we're just chipping away at everything else.
Indeed you are. Yes, both of those ladies certainly had a love and passion for reading, to put it mildly, didn't they?
They did. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie, and
Thank you.
enjoy the bedtime preparations.
Thank you.
Let's see. All right, we are mixing it up tonight. Principal DeVillers is coming on down next.
We wanted Keith to see what it was like to go last.
Wait, that's good for me.
Hi, everybody. Things are clicking along at Sawyer. First of all, fall field trips have started. Kindergarten went to Crossroads and first grade went to Hillside Orchard, as they usually do. Those were successful. The kids had a good time. Like Sunrise, we had our conferences. They ended this evening. I also had two teachers that said they had 100% turnout. I always have, and Monday I'll have their percentages, and I challenge them if parents don't show up to call them and reschedule, or to make sure they at least have a phone conference. So participation seems to be really high, and I'll know more next week. We had our first Sawyer assembly today. If you ever get a chance, it's in food. We have the bee, Cindy Anschutz, one of our 4K TAs, runs around in the bee costume, greet kids. We have all the new kids stand up, and as you can imagine, and we greet them with 4K, it's a big deal, right? There's 4 classrooms of new students, plus all the other ones that are scattered about, so we welcome them. We do these to promote positive behavior. We this year had Mr. Neuteller and Miss Ann Herring read a story in both Spanish and English and kind of acted out for the kids. It was that they loved it. It was something new. And so it was just a great event today. It was fun. The last thing that I wanted to say is on Halloween, if you get a chance,
you could stop by Sawyer School and see what goes on. Kids come in their costumes and they don't have a formal parade like they used to at Sunset, but they do have individual classroom things. So that'll be happening right on Halloween this year. So that's what's happening there. Lots of fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Yep.
As our next contestant is coming on down to the podium, I'll just comment briefly as both of our elementary principals commented on parent-teacher conference participation. I think earlier, we looked at demographics, and I think sometimes people want to make, some generalizations that, with some of those challenges, we must not have many engaged families. And certainly, we have some families that really need our support. There's no doubt about it. But you also clearly, even with those changes, have quite a few families that are doing their best to engage in how their kids doing at school, which is. What do you got for us?
We're just really mixing up.
I see that.
First, some of you might have been, last week, Avery Burns, the middle and high school choir teacher, had her second annual show choir, where we had students perform. It was amazing, a huge turnout. We're gonna have to find another space for it because I don't think there's enough room for everybody who came. But they were raising funds for their New York trip that they're taking over spring break. And so they had a New York theme. So they did kind of the show tunes, theater show songs. So it was great. So just second annual is something she started last year and she wants to continue. So that was really great. I also just wanted to share some of the academic work that we're doing at the high school. So tomorrow at our in-service day, district-wide, we're bringing in Eric Larson, who some of you might know that name. He's been here before, he and his team. He's gonna be working with the high school team in the morning. And so we call him the data guru, affectionately, where we're really gonna dive in and dig into the data that we have on our students' scores and their academic progress and what they're looking at. I'll be honest with you, some of the preliminary numbers of our score report card are not exactly where we want them to be. While we are above the state average in both math and literacy, some of the other benchmarks and things that they measure and the way it's weighted doesn't look very positive for us. So those are some of the things that we really want to look at and be focusing on. And so we've got a couple different things that we're doing with that. One of the things that we're offering this year that we've never done here before is a fall pre-ACT. So as you know, we do the ACT statewide. All juniors take the ACT in March. We've done the pre-ACT for our freshmen and sophomores to kind of get some samples and kind of practice and feel comfortable taking it. Well, a lot of schools, both here in Door County and around the state, do it in the fall as well. We're going to offer that this year. So on November 10th at half day, our freshmen, sophomore, juniors are all going to be taking the pre-ACT. What's exciting about that is it gives us time to use that data to see what we can do for the spring ACT. What's great is there's also a college and career readiness piece with that as well. So it doesn't matter whether you're going to a 2-year, 4-year, going right into the workforce, there's a lot of things we can capitalize on that. So I'm excited to be offering that for the first time. So we have a half day on the 10th. So we're going to use that time and work with our students on that. And then we'll get that data back within just a couple of weeks. And so we can really dive deep into what that looks like and how we can apply that. So pretty excited about that. Speaking of career and career ready, in the pamphlet or booklet that I gave you for the board report already, I shared with you information on our youth apprenticeship work. 3 years ago, we had 4 students participating in youth apprenticeship. This year, we're at 36 now. I think what I shared with you was even 35. One more. So we're at 36 students. Which is really exciting. It's giving our students an opportunity to work in the real world, learn those skills, learn those trades, get certifications, and earn money while doing it. So some of you right here, I know Jake has a couple of our students working at TTX. We have different people working in different places. And so pretty excited to be increasing those numbers and having our students get those experiences here. So, and then finally, I just want to talk about our fall athletics, which are coming to a close, not quite yet for all of our teams, excitedly. Our boys soccer are Packerland Conference champions, and 15 years in a row are D4 regional final champions. And so they're playing tomorrow at Xavier High School at 4:30. And then I'm sure Saturday, that's the hope, Saturday at St. Mary Catholic at 4:30 as well. So we've got that still going on, cheering on our boys soccer team. Our DCU girls swim team, we're Bay Conference champions. Our football team, our football team qualified for the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row. Volleyball won their home regional game and played in the second round, where unfortunately they lost to a tough team. Our students, we had many first and second and honorable mention all conference athletes, with our very own Ben Stevens being player of the year for the Packerland Conference for boys soccer, and Mita Zukaiskite. Told her I was gonna work on it. Player of the year, she received player of the year for volleyball as well for us. So 2 really great awards for our students, the honorable mention. So just some great things happening and some work that we're gonna be doing here moving forward. Thank you.
Wow.
Well, little place, that's sense. All right, it's a big day today. You didn't know we had Human Services came in today with the Lions Club. Roger, our own Roger Wood was there today. They serviced 243 11th, 9th, and 7th graders in their school today, checking their vision screening. So great job. It's appreciated. I was able to communicate to a few families like how the kids have been identified for follow-up. So that's good to see. Just like Mr. Nerby said, we had some winning teams at our level here at the middle school. We had our middle school volleyball team. They won their middle school conference tournament, which is big news for us. Had a lot of kids out for cross country and football. Girls basketball is rolling along. They wrap up their season November 11th at Southern Door. Also, did you know, you met him before, Mr. Jacobson, he leads our middle school and high school esports teams. But I bet you didn't know yesterday, they were ranked number 2 in the state. Did you know that? But then they lost.
More work to do.
So they're not number 2. But anyway, so it's just great to see when you go up there, you see a lot of kids involved after school. So a lot of them middle school kids go to study tables. And they go compete on the esports team on Tuesdays and Thursdays. What's coming up ahead here, Halloween bash. It's a big deal at the middle school. We have games, costume contest, pumpkin decorating. We also announced our Clipper Crew card winners, who's earned all the 4 letters already. Plus you got the kids that get to go, as long as they're not suspended, they get to go to GB games on GB men's basketball game on Thursday, February 1st. They qualify, they get a t-shirt, a breakfast, and with some other programs as well. And I'll give you 3 more little tidbits because I know you're excited, right? First, what's new at TJW? We have counseling department. They are working on a screener called the Social, Academic, and Emotional Behavior Risk Screener that 7th grade students they have taken. They take 7 questions assessing their kids' social and assessing their own social and academic behaviors. Our counselor, Mrs. Kadowski, reviews the data, connects by reaching out to students' parents, sharing their data, and then informs parents of steps that she can do to help kids overcome some of these concerns. She has some groups that work on emotional management support, stress. Friendship groups are kind of big deals in middle schools. We all remember back in the day, but choose not to remember. But so that's one of the things happening here in the next couple of weeks. You also see we're flipping the script on the Clipper card, the crew card. I keep mentioning it over and over because it's a big deal. We've given out 336 of them in 37 days, but this time kids are doing it for the teachers. We're calling it the hero card. So kids get to write them this time for their teachers, for helping out students learn, E for being energetic and passionate about teaching, R for showing respect to all their students in their classrooms, and O for displaying outstanding performance in every single way every day. So we're gonna see, I think that's kind of cool for a teacher to receive something like that, because we always, we're trying to, it just emulates what we're teaching, right? We're trying to put in their hands and gonna let these kids be leaders. And then finally, I reached out to 1 or 2 of you. We're gonna be doing a thing, and I encourage you all, if you kind of check your schedules for it, we're calling it, it's kind of like a TED Talk, but it's a Clipper career talk. We're doing it during our Clipper time from 11:30 to noon. I'll do it once a week. We'll be starting the second quarter. We're looking for people to come in and talk about careers to middle school students. We're looking for accountants to talk about estate planning. Oh, it's exciting. How to make your first. How to make your first million, right? As a financial advisor. Yeah. How do you run a Coast Guard station? I have no clue, but someone does here, and these are things, and also what it takes for being in charge of production and purchasing, and also living abroad. Or me, hey, what's that rock? right here. Someone here knows this, but I think these are people that can get involved. And I'd love to see to bring in parents and people from our community. The mayor, I think, is unofficially on board. A couple people from Spencer works with from his former State Department doing some CSI work are unofficially on board as well. So stay tuned. You're gonna see more and more about this. And obviously, parents, if you're still watching, I know you're excited. Remember, there's no school tomorrow and Friday. All right, so have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Smolin. All right, I think we're down to two ladies over there. Who's going next?
They're like looking at each other going, you go, no, you go.
One of us has to.
Lindsay gave us
One of
handouts.
us has to follow.
So I think Debbie-
Right. Okay, so I passed this evening, 5 different documents outlining 3 different programs. Okay. And so I want to go through each new program that the district has created, in Sturgeon Bay School District this year. The first documents, there's actually 3 of them for one program. It's referring to our early childhood, program. So we have an early childhood story time and play group sessions that we've created this year. The district is offering monthly story time sessions for children aged 4 years old and younger. Each month, our staff will read a story to the children and then accompany that story with an activity. This past month, we held our first story time and had 14 families participate. And so this is really just an activity to get more kids in our doors. And actually, it's not our doors we're using the newly renovated YMCA, who has allowed us to partner with them and use one of their new classrooms. So that was a success. The other program we're referring to as our play groups. By law, the district is required to conduct developmental screenings as part of the child find legal requirement. In previous years, the district would meet this requirement by holding a fall session screening window and a spring session. While this method worked, we saw a lot of families. The team wanted an opportunity to offer more dates and more options to families on a more consistent basis. Therefore, this year, the district is offering monthly developmental screening sessions identified as play groups, as we call them, for children who are ages 3 or 4 years old. The team creates developmentally appropriate activities that include speech and language skills, fine and gross motor skills, and learning activities. This process allows our team to get a greater access to children and to provide us the opportunity to intervene earlier for students who may have specific needs. This past week, we held our first play group also at the YMCA, and we had 4 families participate. So both the story time and play groups are held every single month. You can see the dates on the flyers that we send out. We also post them across the community at the libraries and some of our stores that have taken them in, and they're posted on Facebook. So if you have families asking about them or how we're doing early childhood screenings, this is the way we're trying to approach more families this year. And Jake made a comment earlier and said, you know, my family is going to go to the story time this month, but they're not a student in this. And I said, totally fine. We open it up to all of the students in the area because we just want earlier access to some of these opportunities for kids in the entire county. Okay. The second flyer in your packet refers to a new program we created that we refer to as the Sawyer Elementary School Self-Regulation Program. This program is open to students with disabilities in grades 4K through grades 2. The Sawyer Self-Regulation Program was designed as an opportunity to teach students self-regulation skills through movement and in nature. Students have an opportunity to learn via swim lessons and gymnastic play at the YMCA, as well as via nature-based learning activities at Crossroads. Students enrolled in this program are able to focus entirely on self-regulation strategies and skills for 90 minutes each day, 4 days per week. Staff there teach the skills via nature, and then when students are ready to transition back to full days at Sawyer Elementary School, they transition with them for that additional support. So far, we have 1 student enrolled in the Sawyer Self-Regulation Program. All right, next program is where I'll spend the bulk of our time because we've heard a lot of extra information in regards to budgeting and funding. This is in reference to the Door County Alternative Program, which we call DCAP in the district. DCAP is a collaborative program between the Sturgeon Bay School District, the Boys and Girls Club of Door County, and Door County Department of Health and Human Services. This program is open to students in the Sturgeon Bay School District in grades 3 through 8. Each student enrolled in the program receives 2.5 hours Each day of direct social, emotional, and mental health support by Sturgeon Bay School District staff, as well as a skills provider that is shared with us via Door County Health and Human Services. In addition, each student enrolled in the program has access to a licensed mental health therapist on a weekly basis. This year, this is half-day programming, so our students in grades 3 through 5 attend in one session, and our students in grades 6 through 8 attend in another session, so they don't overlap. During year 2 of implementation, however, the DCAP team will be extending this program so that both sessions are offered full day. This will not only going to be offering socially emotional, and mental health support next year, but we're going to also include academic support as well, so it can truly become a full day alternative program. Half day academics, half day social, emotional, and mental health support. By year 3 then, so that's year 2, by year 3, the DCAP team will have established a full day alternative program for students that offer regular education and special education support. Students in the Sturgeon Bay School District will have continued access to the program by being a member of our district. However, during year 3, it is our hope to also open the doors to students in neighboring school districts that may be struggling with social, emotional learning or mental health challenges. Enrollments from outside of the Sturgeon Bay School District will be charged a tuition rate dependent on services provided and student needs. So far this year, we have 2 students enrolled in the 3 through 5, 3rd grade through 5th grade program, and 1 in the 6th through 8th grade program. So we're already serving students with more, I'm sure, to come down the road. Questions on any specific program? I have a lot to share today, so I even typed it out for you. Sorry about that.
How do you qualify a student for the program or program?
Yeah, good question. So the early childhood program is open for anyone. We want to see as many kids as we can see there. The Sawyer self-regulation program is open to students who are already qualified under special education. And then the DCAP program this year is only for students with disabilities. And the reason that we did that, and I just want to take a moment to explain it, because I think it's important, is we want to make sure that prior to changing placement for any of our students in district, we want to make sure that we have exhausted every single thing that we can do in building, because we think it's really important for our students to be in building. And so before we say, hey, this is an option, well, we'll have you go to this program, we want to make sure that we've done everything we can here, which in my mind also means a referral for special education, because we want to give them all the support that they can get here. And then if they still need additional support, now we have another option in district for students to go to. In years past, when we didn't have this option, we would be partnering with agencies in Green Bay for students to go to, because we needed extra support and we needed different options. Our hope is that we no longer have to send students out of district, that we can support them right here in Door County. Yeah.
I think you have, flow chart might not be the right term, right? But I've seen between you and our teacher, right, kind of figuring out and then sharing with the principals to share with the teachers, like Jake's question, like if you're a teacher going, boy, I wonder if this student, right, kind of helping walk them through the process.
Yeah, so we have a referral process, and there's a form that either parents can refer and or staff at each building can refer. And so that's where we get more information on the needs of the student. And then we transition with students, which is an exciting part of the program. So we have our staff at DCAP will observe the student in the educational setting. And then they'll get an idea of who they are, what they need. And then as they attend the program at DCAP, they work really closely with them. And then when it's time to transition back, they've met all their goals, what's called a graduation ceremony. Then we transition back with them to the educational setting. Some of our programs that we've had more success than others, they've all been a little bit different, but you bring them to Green Bay and they go, and then they come back and there's no transition between the two. There's no communication. So by doing it all ourselves, and if our staff, our teachers are able to come in and out of our buildings and then be a constant for that student, whether they're at DCAP or whether they're back in school.
And I believe our teacher at DCAP took these pictures herself, so, right? So she has an eye for photography, which I found interesting when I saw her working on the brochure, and she asked me to take a look one day, so.
She did.
Just
She
a
is,
little note for any of you that like
Yeah.
nature photography, she does too.
she's from Madison and the Janesville area, and so being up here has been very exciting for her. And she's like, I don't need anyone to, give me pictures. I don't need to get rights. I'll just go do it myself. But all the better. That's why she's perfect for the program. So more to come. We're excited. We've already had 2 neighboring school districts call and ask if we would take students. If we were enrolling, and I thought, oh man, that's really tempting, right? But no, not yet. Like, give us the time to set it up to make it what we want it to be. So I do see it as an opportunity for the district, not only to help our own students, but to help students in Door County and make something really special.
Thanks for your work.
Yeah, no, it's not just me, it's everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And last but not least, coming to the podium.
I promise I won't keep you long, but we'll leave you with a little bit of data. This handout is what we'll take a look at. If we look at the side with all the colors first. We've been talking so much about the literacy initiative and adopting new curriculum. Last year, we talked about our phonics program, and I just keep saying, we'll get a look at the data and then it'll be exciting, and it's here. So I wanted to just provide you with just a couple really quick snapshots so we can start to see what this is looking like. I'll remind you that at the elementary screen, we do and this is really, the screener is to gauge the overall health of our system, okay? And so the first piece of data that you see is from the kindergarten. And I know there's like a lot of things here, but what we really want to pay attention to is that when we screen our students and the STAR early literacy test in kindergarten, they do a test called first sound fluency. And if you'll remember, we talk about how we really, our goal of our curriculum is to have 80% of our students at or above benchmark. And what you see here is a reflection of 1 full year. So keep in mind, our 4K students are our first group of students who have 1 full year of literacy instruction based in the science of reading. And they came to us in kindergarten. The number of students that you see at or above benchmark, so 32 and 13 represents 77% of our kindergarten students are starting the school year in kindergarten at or above grade level. It's huge. This, by the way, is a clear difference when compared to students at the other grade levels at this time. Therefore, students who have not received 1 full year of science-based literacy instruction. If we move on to grade 4, again, this is based on that screener. That's, it's a gauge or temperature, if you will, of our universal instruction. So we're not talking about intervention kids. We're not talking about students who receive additional supports. This is just, our regular curriculum. And what you see here is a cohort. So this is the same group of students at the beginning of the 20, that's what BOY stands for, excuse me, beginning of year, the beginning of the year STAR reading data. This group of students, 45% of them are at or above benchmark. You can see how they tracked last school year, middle of the year, again, science-based literacy instruction. The end of the year. And then you can see at the beginning of this year, again, this is that same group of students, beginning of the year, this year, and there was a little bit of a dip there, which we sometimes refer to as summer slide. But we typically see that drop a significant amount from the end of one school year to the beginning of the next. More importantly, what I'd like for you to do is look at the beginning of the year data, that 45%. And then the beginning of this year, 57%. That's a huge gain. That's a huge 1 year gain.
That's the trend we want to see.
It is. It's so exciting. So again, this is because of the implementation of a core phonics program, 1 full year. Those 3rd graders now starting 4th grade, and strategic daily interventions for those students who need it. Likewise, and I'll speed this up, grade 5 at the bottom, it's sort of the same, it's the same data, right? So beginning of the year, you can see how they progress through the middle of the year as fourth graders, the end of the year, a little bit of a dip there. We sometimes see that in the spring. But here, again, I want you to look at the beginning of the year, 43%, all the way to the beginning of this year, 55%, also a nice gain. And here, importantly, if you look at the end of the year, 2022, 23, so they were at 46%. There was no summer slide there. They actually came into fifth grade at 55% at or above benchmark. Okay. On the other side, really quickly, I like to say, I say this often, that everything is rolling uphill. And of course, if you're rolling something uphill, it's hard work, right? And so you heard both Principal Mullen and Principal Nerby talk about some of the really important things that are going on in their buildings. And that's absolutely true. The big moves at the middle school right now are the strategic use of interventions. And so not only do we have tier 2, so that first level of intervention at the middle school, but now a tier 3 intervention as well. So we have 2 programs called, one is called Language Live, the other Spire. And this means that we can meet students where they're at based on their data. And in this case, at this point in the middle school, we're servicing almost 80 students in the middle school building, which is very exciting. And then as Principal Nerby talked about, the big moves at the high school really have a lot to do with this pre-ACT. Implementing this pre-ACT in the fall is huge. And he did a great job of talking about how the November 10th test is going to help us inform instruction moving forward. But as a parent of a teenage child, we find as a family, this data to be critical. The test, when you get the results back, and as he said, it happens fast, like between 5 and 10 days, we'll have these tests back. And not only will it give students a score, but it will tell them where they are compared to a benchmark and how ready they are to take the ACT when they're juniors. And imagine what that must feel like to let's say a freshman who's like, okay, you really don't have any idea, do you? I mean, you don't. You take the test, you get the results back, and you can see, oh my gosh, in some cases, I'm already there. And if not, it gives you really great information about things that you can work on, which is going to create a situation for us where we can easily group students and meet them right where they're at. We already have Clipper time scheduled right into the day. Big stuff, and I'm excited about it. So pre-ACT at the high school. And then finally, a little departure here, but QR code, if you zap that with your phone, it will take you directly to our brand new Sturgeon Bay School District website, which launched on October 10th. What we hope that you see if you look at that, when you look at that, is that it is user-friendly, mobile-friendly, it's visually appealing. And if you wanted to just dig through the building landing pages, I think you'll find that they just look really great. They're easy to navigate. You can find what you're looking for. And so again, we have a website team, Erin Perilero, Holly Selly, and Jen Hansen. They deserve all the credit for doing all of that. Big look when you have time. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben. So next we have Jake. Do you have anything more for us, or you?
Just real quick, there's one slide that got cut off. I just didn't save it when I got here a little late, earlier this evening. But anyway, the slide that dropped off, just kind of looking to the future, the stuff I wanted to touch base on. The last of the referendum dollars being spent this year. The end of our 5-year rate lock guarantee with Prevea 360 is a big one that's going to happen at the end of this year. One of the notes I had on my slide, you would expect way more information on health insurance than you ever wanted or thought you wanted as we look at new different ways to kind of blunt the expected large rate increase. And then finally, I think within the business office, at least myself, be looking in and studying ways that we can better hire and recruit, especially this, Gen Z. As we continue to look at doing candidate pools for really any position that we have. So that's the only other thing I'll add from a report earlier.
Thanks, Jake.
I'll highlight one item, add two. So my printed report, if you read between the kind of the lines, read the tea leaves, what some of the team members were talking about, really paragraph 2, the second sentence of my report on page 1 about the report cards. So in essence, in November is when those officially can come out and we can share the results, right? And it'll be a mix. Some will be like, oh, that part was disappointing. Oh, this part is really energized. That's what's there. So we don't want to surprise you with that, even when we can't share certain things yet. And really, second paragraph, second sentence about those priority areas: achievement, growth, target group outcomes, on track to graduation. So you heard, I won't say who, but it was the high school principal, talk about how, we're ahead of average, state average in certain areas. But yet you can guess, oh, if there's 4 areas and if we're graded accordingly, that's kind of where it's hard to follow. And that's why when I mentioned Eric Larson, who's someone I used in my high school principal day, it's like he can help you make the most sense of the data and also what makes sense for teachers, for kids, for families, right? Let's not get just chasing a score, but let's use it to improve. So more of that to come. And then the 2 additional items, again, and then you'll get a copy of this when I send it to everybody else. So have been in contact with the Door Peninsula Astronomical Society, DPAS, and Crossroads, probably going to have some sort of meeting soon, trying to coordinate a date about agreements and the property, right? We've been approached by things. We haven't been approached recently. And again, Mike's familiar with some of this, but trying to help them work through that so that doesn't keep coming up. And then I don't think I've shared before, I'm on the CISA 7 PAC Executive Committee this year at the small district rep. And we have a Zoom meeting on Friday morning about those things that kind of meetings. I thought I probably should just mention. So that's all I got.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a move to adjourn. Second.
All right, Commissioner Hans, seconded by Commissioner Cruz. Further discussion, hearing none, all those say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, we are adjourned.
Wait, one more. No.